Welcome back, everyone, to the 13th episode of Blue Collar, White Collar, with
Bad
me,
luck?
Kieran, and my co-host, Nicholas Wheeler-Hughes. Welcome back, Nick. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Kieran. You always say my last name, but not yours.
Because I'm a much more private person than you.
Indeed.
So,
Kieran,
yes, Nicholas.
would you like to tell the audience how we are going to be starting our 13th episode?
I would love to. So, Nick's 31st birthday was a couple days ago, sorry. And so I had sent him a gift in the mail, and so he's going to open it for you all. And as he opens it, I'm gonna talk a little bit. So, Nicholas, do you have the letter? You might not want to display that for everyone.
Sealed.
I'll blur that out so people don't know your
There
address.
you go. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
Whoa. Whoa! There's a seal.
yes. Okay.
There's an envelope in the envelope.
So Nicholas and
Seal on the envelope.
I met in what I would roughly say would be about October of 2008. In October of 2008 is roughly how many years ago, Nick?
17.
Or 17 years. Okay. Now, before this conversation started, when we were just chit-chatting off recording, we were talking about something, The Lord of the Rings, and it's something we like talking about. Do you remember exactly how long that Gandalf was away?
Wait a second. We've known each other for 17 years?
Almost. Yes.
That's crazy. That's over half.
Yes.
That's pretty nuts. That's pretty nuts.
So do you remember how long that Gandalf is gone researching the One Ring?
Ooh. Hold on. 50 years?
No. Take a guess. There's a reason why.
I just guessed 50 years. Is that incorrect?
Yes. It's 17 years.
17. Oh! That's my number.
And we've known each other for 17 years. So did you finish opening the present?
I don't know. So, could we start with what this is before opening the seal?
So this is one of the brooches.
Not
Go ahead.
idly do the leaves of Lorien fall. This is in at the beginning of Two Towers. You see Merry and Pippin being carried away by the Uruk-hai. And one of the first things that I believe... Wait, who does it? Merry does it. Merry bites off the leaf of Lorien on his
cowl.
collar, I think.
Yeah. His cloak.
What was it on? His cloak, yeah.
Yeah.
And he spits it on the ground. Or just, yeah. And nobody notices. And obviously he got this from the elves, right? From the elves of Rivendell?
No, I believe it's the elves
no.
of
Galadriel.
Galadriel. And so this is a question.
What's that called? Galadriel's people?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
There's 3 different elf peoples then. That's pretty sick.
Anyway, my point. So one of the things I like to ask people about Lord of the Rings is if they know, is there's 9 members of the Fellowship, but how many leaves are given away? Because a lot of people don't remember that Gandalf is not there when they meet the Wood Elves.
That's right. He fell.
Yeah. Anyway, so, as I said, 17 years. Gandalf was gone 17 years researching the One Ring. Nicholas, you can finish opening your gift.
Is this what I fucking think it is? If this is what I think it is, I'm about to fucking lose it. Oh my god. And it has the engravings?
I believe it glows in the dark.
No fucking way. Oh my god, this is gonna fucking drive me crazy. I'm just gonna walk around. I'm just gonna be addicted to it.
Now you can cosplay as Frodo.
That is a crazy gift, dude. I can't believe it.
It wasn't expensive. Honestly, the hardest part was making that second envelope, because I made that envelope. The one with your name on it.
The envelope was the hardest part.
I'm not kidding. The other stuff was just money. Money's easy.
Okay, hold on.
But I printed out
You have
that envelope and cut out the envelope shape and glued that envelope together so that I could have that beautiful Elven or Lord of the Rings writing on that envelope and the wax seal.
Isn't that nice? Dude, thank you so much. That is a
You're very welcome.
crazy gift that I'll have forever.
Yeah, because it's indestructible.
I literally can't. Want to see just while we're here. Okay, I'm just gonna do it. 'Cause it's funny.
We're gonna nerd out. We want to add some levity to this episode because there's going to be a lot of dark stuff that's going to be spoken of, unfortunately.
You know what that is?
No idea.
That's a FlyQuest jersey
That doesn't mean anything to me.
from League of Legends. League of Legends.
I don't watch League of Legends anymore.
You know FlyQuest? Do you know?
No. But good for you. Very cool.
Okay, they're doing well internationally. It's like the best team in the West right now, better than all the European teams.
Very cool.
And Inspired is the fucking. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Should we start talking about our topic?
Yeah, if you...
Yeah. That's just you know what? This is obviously what I'm gonna do for the whole episode. And hold on, can I clasp this? I actually can.
Be careful, because it's brittle. And it's actually,
You know what,
interestingly, that leaf, as much as it's very nice and everything, is actually related in a way to what we're going to be talking about tonight. Because that thing was definitely made in China, and therefore is related to the fact that today we're going to be talking about geopolitics.
Boom. Okay.
Nick's too busy worrying about his...
Clasp it. Fuck it. Let's go. Like that. No, that gonna stab me.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully that's. Okay. I'm just gonna leave that over here for now.
Sure.
Kieran, we're talking about geopolitics.
That's correct. So I've listed a few different things that I think we could talk about. So on the docket, Ukraine, Israel.
May I introduce it?
Sure, but I'm just going to list the different things that I think different areas that I think I'd like to cover. Ukraine, Israel, China, South America, and turmoil in Europe.
You missed one. The big one.
Which one?
Trump.
I guess that is geopolitics, but he okay, here's the thing.
Everything.
He's going to be in every single one of these, so I think we don't need a category for him.
Okay.
But yes. So start us off, Nicholas.
When you hello, everybody. There has been no more monumental a shift anywhere in the world as there has been in the United States. The only argument would be Israel, which has changed fundamentally. The two are connected. Trump has completely rewritten the rules, right? All of the kind of traditional relationships are no longer a given right? Trump is very business like, right? What are the deals that you and I are doing directly that benefits me? And as a result, I think his willingness to bring Russia back in is a huge example of this, right? Like Trump meeting Putin, what was it, on Friday? No, last week? It was last week.
Something like that, I believe.
It was a week ago today. Nobody else will meet with Putin.
I actually think that's a good thing. Not that no one will meet with him. I think it's good that people to meet with him.
Right, but what the policy has been up until now is isolate Russia.
Yeah.
Right? Cut them out of markets, punish them with sanctions, and their economy, that was at least the original idea, was you can't sustain this war because we can punish you.
And that's failed.
Hard,
and that's
right?
failed
The West.
horrendously.
Failed because everybody east of Europe supports Russia.
Not exactly. I mean,
Right.
places like Australia,
China.
India financially supports them, but not militarily in any capacity.
But the whole point of the West can tell India, because it's a democracy, how to kind of position itself is super weak, right? Like we have no powers in India, as far as I know.
Good. We're not Indians, so we shouldn't.
Oh, I know, but it's like a democracy, right?
Yeah.
They should be an ally, and yet they are not exactly. Anyway, so my point is just that like the approach that Trump takes to the West's, because the United States is the leader of the West, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Been the idea, and the rest, UK, Germany, France, being like the big three, like that are next. They just kind of like follow along, right? And there's like a lot of internal discussions, but like they're like the home team.
Yes.
I feel like I'm getting into it too much. So that's the introduction. I think we need to start with Trump. I'm curious, Kieran, what your take is on Donald Trump's influence globally since he came into power.
Well, I think the only thing that I think he's really had any impact on is through the tariffs. I don't think that the wars would be unfolding in very different a fashion, but the relationships with every country, like Canada, our relationship with the United States is severely damaged. Like every country in the world, essentially, through tariffs, they've undermined all the goodwill that they'd built up over many, many, many decades. Yes. And that's quite unfortunate. Plus, of course, he's allowing Israel to do the horrific things that are going on over there. And again, I don't think this situation in Russia and the Ukraine would be any different if he wasn't the president. But yeah, it's really those tariffs that I think the relationship with India is hurt. Like Japan, all these people, you're pushing them into the arms of your main opponent, your main enemy superpower, which is China. It's like everything that they would like to do, they're resulting in the opposite effect. Because you don't want to benefit China. If you're wanting to win the race, if you're wanting to win this new Cold War, yeah, you don't want to give them more allies, which is what seems to be happening.
Big question for you. Do you think democracy is failing?
No, I don't. I don't. What I think is failing is I think certain governmental systems and people with ideas of wanting to maintain power and harming people's rights in Western nations, many Western nations, not all Western nations, has made people disenfranchised with democracy because their democracies are not working as intended, or when they do work as intended, the force of the government is wielded against those people anyway. But you look at places like Poland. Poland is not having a problem with democracy right now. Why is that? Well, they didn't take in millions and millions of people from a different culture that would clash with theirs, and then there would be turmoil like there has been across of almost all of the rest of Europe. And so the people are pretty happy with the job that their government has been doing, as far as I know. So
hyper anti-immigration.
Well, just in this instance, they basically said all these immigrants coming in from the Middle East because of the downstream consequences of the wars that the United States has been perpetuating. We're not going to let these people come into our country because it would impact the country in such a negative way that the culture shock of those people being mixed into our people would not work. And as a result, they're one of the most functional European democracies in terms of like how happy the people are with what their government has done. You look at the way that France and the UK and Germany, like no one's happy with what their government's doing because their governments are failing them miserably. Every year, the British have tried to reduce the number of immigrants coming into their country, and they vote in parties that say they're going to do that, and they ramp up the immigration. And I understand why they're doing it, but the people you're electing are not voting for the things that they said they were going to do. So that's why democracies are failing in places that you might seem to think that they would be, or that you might assume that I think. Democracy as a concept is not failing.
I think it is, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think when we look at where power is coming from, it no longer, the argument for democracy was that like it would balance the scales, right? That there would be more power to the people. That's the idea, right? We self-determine. But I guess I just think that we look at our society and the kind of unimaginable wealth inequality, like the United States being number one, right? That it has just so favored the few over the many, and the many are getting angrier and angrier and choosing people like Trump. That's happening everywhere, right?
Again, not everywhere.
I just think that when you look at the level of satisfaction that people have with their government in democracies like obviously the US, but the UK, right? Brexit, that was a we fucking hate our government move. That's
Well,
what that is.
not their government, the government of the European Union.
Yes, exactly. But their government as part of the European Union.
Yeah.
And that hasn't gone very well for them, has it?
I don't
I
know.
guess my point is just, like, I feel like people are getting angrier.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that entirely. But
Right.
I don't think it's because democracy.
Angrier.
I don't think it's because democracy is failing, and maybe it's because democracy is currently failing. Because
Democracy gave us the craziest like wealth gap in human history by unimaginable margins.
Okay, but a lot of that is in certain ways is generated by, one, the advancement in technology, and two, the concept of inflation, which has made certain things be valued at numbers which in no point in history would like the same plot of land would be worth X amount now, but you could go back and you could own 10 times that much land 5,000 years ago, and it wouldn't be worth anywhere near that amount of money. So, poor people always have nothing. You can't have less than nothing. But rich people, they could have more and more and more and more. So, yeah, Elon Musk has trillions of dollars or access to, if you add up the value of all his companies and everything, I believe. And most of that is just the technological advancement. But
yeah, AI. We'll have to talk about AI.
it'll be another episode for certain.
So, if I may, like, I guess the argument that I think people are starting to wonder whether China is making a better argument, right? A much more centralized government that has much more power to make decisions. And if you look at the trend in China, and obviously, you know, you can't go up forever, and the United States went up like crazy in the post-World War II boom, but that's the direction that people are going in China now, right? Which is up.
That's not going to last forever.
It isn't, but right now, what's happening is that people in China's kind of standards of living are going up. People in the United States, it's going down, right? If you take those two as the global arguments.
Okay.
The reason for that is because the U.S. hit that high point where the middle class was thriving, right, in the kind of second half of the 20th century.
Yeah.
But now the trend has switched, right? Like housing, if you take that as an example, or just affordability in general, is becoming so much harder here, right?
Yes. And a large majority of that is because of bureaucratic systems that prevent the building of new houses.
Created by democracies.
Yeah, unfortunately. Sometimes you give people who are idiots a voice, and they use that voice, and there's negative consequences of it. But, you know. I really hope you're wrong that people are turning towards an authoritarian system because well, it's quite obvious. I'm a libertarian, so the concept of people wanting us to live like China just scares the shit out of me.
I don't think you are a libertarian.
I am a libertarian.
I don't think you are.
How am I not a libertarian? You're just yanking my chain.
I'm just picking this fight for fun.
Yeah, I know.
But hold on. Let me actually. I'm going to try to argue it. Hold on.
I have some things I could say.
You know what? This is a whole rabbit hole.
These are the fun things, though. As I said, we're going to be talking about some dark things coming up. So, if you want, go ahead.
Yeah. It's a bit of a drift off topic.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. Well, how about we make one argument each and then we move on, as opposed to like.
Okay, give me one.
Like all attack, you parry, and then we move on. Okay. In our discussions, Gary, I feel like you believe far too much in the role of government in people's lives to be a libertarian.
In what?
I think that you
Give me
are
a specific example.
Thinking a lot about services for children. I think that you like that the state is in charge of that and want the state to be doing more of that.
No, I don't. I don't believe that. If it were up to me, there would be no public schools if it were up to me.
And what would your child do? Go to private?
Yes.
How would that work?
Well, in the system, the cost of childcare due to the free market would go lower and lower to a point where everywhere would be affordable, and then you wouldn't be paying as much in taxes, and so you could afford more things, like the ability to put your kids in private school, because it's cheap and inexpensive due to technological development and the free market.
Okay, good. I agree.
Okay.
But fair enough.
So here's the thing. Back onto the geopolitics. In one way, I actually am going to agree with your argument about people leaning towards China, because in one aspect, I am. I think China is doing their international politics way, way better than the United States is. The United States, in their own countries, they're like, la la la, we respect people's rights, and then outside of their country, to people who aren't their allies, they will fuck you up if you do the wrong thing. Whereas China comes in, they're like, we will pay you $1 billion to build a mine here that we will build roads in a city to, and we will pay your people, but we get most of the profits.
Yeah.
And they...
But we get most of the profits. We own it. We own it.
So they...
We use it, but it's ours.
Internationally, China is being more capitalistic than the United States has ever been, because in the United States, since essentially since the end of World War II, has been a bully in many ways, and sometimes they've bullied for good, but
right.
Go ahead.
They've acted as the international police.
Sometimes that involves beating up minority countries.
Correct. Cold War.
It's still going on
They
today.
just fucking show up. They just show up. We'll fuck you up.
Do you know how many
You
countries?
with us? You against us?
Do you know how many countries have active U.S. military personnel in them?
I don't know.
It's absurd.
100?
Well, I don't know. It like not just there on a
You don't
base
have the
somewhere.
number?
No, but they're in a tons of countries across Africa, and you
You don't
know.
have. You know.
No,
This is no. Me neither.
not off the top of my head, but it's way more than there should be. Like, you think, how many wars is the United States actively involved in? Well, they have way more people, way more military personnel scattered throughout the countries that they're not
have no
allied
troops
with.
on the ground in any active war.
Yeah, well, that's because they do things and don't talk about them more. Anyway.
Yeah. Dude, what is going on in Sudan? I don't know about this, but it sounds bad.
I don't know what you're talking about either. So would you tell me? Elaborate?
I don't. I think there might be a.
Sudan or South Sudan?
Just Sudan, I believe. Yeah.
Let me
it's
look
systematic slaughtering of people. I'm not totally sure. Anyway,
I'm gonna Google this while you're talking.
We want to talk about because there are. Anyway, so that's just kind of I think a global argument or a framework, I guess. This idea of the power of Western ideas in the world diminishing. I think we got to go to Israel.
Yeah, we can talk about that, because this is one area that I think you and I are going to have a lot of agreement. So currently, the United States
I suspect so.
is funding what I am going to say is a genocide. I don't know. You can say whatever you want.
Absolutely, I'm saying it.
The people of Palestine, they don't deserve what's coming to them from either side, and a lot of people are rightly criticizing Hamas, and a lot of people are rightly criticizing Israel. The reason that I don't particularly criticize Hamas is not because I don't think they're beyond criticism. The criticism is 100% valid, but as an ally, which Israel, as an ally, yeah, you expect it from terrorism. As an ally, which Israel apparently is, if your best friend is doing something horrendously destructive, you're going to step in and say, dude, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? And I think that's why I talk about what's going on in Israel, because they're supposed to be our friend, and when your friend goes off the deep end, you gotta give an intervention. Yeah, it's quite sickening. I'm gonna let you speak for a second, because
here's my take, and I know it's dangerous, or not dangerous, but no matter what you say about Israel, Palestine, you're pissing people off, right? This is
100%.
an issue that people feel incredibly strongly about, because it is worth feeling strongly about, frankly. Right? Like, you can't brush this off. What's happening? It is so significant and so awful, and it is a response to evil, right? Like, I think when the Hamas attack happened, Israel had to retaliate.
in some
right?
capacity, yes.
The Hamas attack was like 9/11 times 10
Yeah.
in Israel. I think.
Oh, it was absolutely horrific.
right?
There's no justifying the crimes that were committed on that day.
That attack has, I think it lives in the minds of all Israelis.
Every day.
I think they think
probably.
about it every day.
Yeah.
Right? Because what Hamas did was so evil.
Oh, it traumatized the whole country. It traumatized the whole country.
And it took hostages, right? And fucking tortured them in tunnels.
So,
like, it's so fucked what these guys did, right? Now, I don't think it's worth going backwards in history to kind of talk about how
whose land is who
was created. You know, the original war in Gaza in 2005, if I'm not mistaken. And it goes back, right? It goes back to back to back. And I think that we could spend hours talking about it. But I don't think there's any way that you cannot start the conversation, this conversation, by acknowledging the evil that was committed that day, right? Like, Israel, to be clear, like, had persecuted. I don't want to get into that. So, the retaliation, right? Israel goes in, takes control of Gaza, right? Wipes out most of Hamas, lots of civilian casualties.
Journalists, doctors, children.
Exactly. Hamas used schools and hospitals to hide, right? These, like, humanless people. Israel was not careful enough in how they persecuted that war, right? They were so fucking angry. And, like, rightfully so, right? Like,
of course.
You can't forgive that. You can't just fucking forgive that, what they did to you. So, I get it, man. Like, I get going in and wanting revenge. Like,
no,
I don't feel like we acknowledge that enough.
When
like, that's what this was. This was revenge.
Oh, absolutely. When October 7th happened, I was listening to podcasts about it, like, that day, because I was working night shift, so people had already started talking about it, because it had been almost a full day since it actually happened at that point. And I was 100% in agreement with, they knew they were going in right away, and the things that had happened, but it doesn't matter what happened. The reason that I don't care to go back in terms of the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s as to whose land is whose and all that shit is because they have crossed a line at this point, and there needs to be an intervention from the countries that it's allied with. They've done horrific things that you can never come back from, and what should have happened was the first time that people noticed that it started to happen, when you could say, look, it was mistakes happen, but we can't have this kind of stuff being repeated, like, from their friends, you know, the United States, the UK, if they had gone, okay, we need to be more responsible about this, then we could talk, and they could do something. But at this point, they're taking out anyone who's, like, any journalists that are in the area. They'll just take them out. Oh, they are Hamas. So you can't even record the brutalities that are going on, and then preventing shipments of aid coming in, so people are starving.
Well, that's it, right? Is that this has turned into something else.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, this was Israel going in and taking out Hamas, right? That's what this was.
That's what it was supposed to be. I don't think it ever was.
I think it was. I don't think they intended for it to go this way at the beginning. And yet, I think that the terror, the trauma of Israel remains so powerful. And I think it's reached a point now where they are facing no opposition in Gaza. Right? There is no Hamas in any meaningful capacity, right? Like, there is no one left to oppose them. why are people starving?
Yeah, it's
What the fuck?
nothing makes me angrier than what's going on there right now. Having a small child myself and hearing stories of small children starving to death, it's sickening, and unfortunately, I don't think the people will ever be brought to justice for what they've done.
And we fund them. We're giving Israel money, right? Like,
Yes.
we need to stop giving Israel money.
So,
Like,
I'm going to go on a weird rant here
hold
for
on,
a second.
Hold on. I just want to clarify that phrase. That's not. I don't believe we stop helping Israel, because Israel would get slaughtered if they were not able to defend themselves, right? I want to be super clear. Israel should never not have the capacity to defend itself from enemies. I stand by that.
I don't, but that's okay. I don't.
Do I think that? Yes, I do. Yes, I do think that. Israel has the right to defend itself still.
Yeah, every country has the right to defend itself.
That's right. Netanyahu needs to go down.
Into prison.
This genocide needs to end. Food needs to flow into Gaza. If you're going to control it, Israel, control it. Stop killing them, rebuild, and make them be able to be alive.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could just do that. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I agree. They should definitely be doing more to let supplies in. Okay, my little rant is about this. Is I was thinking the other day that I really don't like the term genocide, not because of, well, obviously it's a horrible thing, but it also covers so many things that are so vastly different that it can be the extermination of a specific people for no reason other than you want to,
right,
to literally picking up but not harming every single person in a group of people and moving them to a different place and not letting them come back. And those are two very, very different things. So,
I agree.
It's difficult because when you call something a genocide, like we have been with what's going on in Israel, what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Gaza is not the same as what the Germans were doing, and it is not the same as the genocides that went on in Africa. It's not people just going in and just slaughtering people for no reason, and it's not the
it's
systematic.
Yeah.
It's not the purposeful extermination of each and every last person, but it still falls, in my opinion, under the definition of genocide. So you almost need different words for it. Like, they want to commit an ethnic cleansing, but not a mass extermination, which is what it seems to be.
I think one thing that we haven't really talked about, and then I want to move on. I don't want to linger on this.
I agree.
Because it's so fucking depressing.
I agree. It's too much.
Yeah, it's really hard to talk about, and I feel like I'm kind of shaking because I don't really talk about it like this. I don't think I've ever talked about it like this.
I don't really talk about it to anyone because most people
it feels,
I don't talk about this stuff with.
Yeah. The word genocide was invented after the Holocaust.
Yeah, when something happens you've never encountered before, it's good to come up with a word for it.
The word genocide, I think it was ethnic cleansing, but the fact that the I want to say the Israeli people, Jews were systematically slaughtered during the Holocaust.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. I am not going to deny that in any fashion. I am not one of those people who does that.
Thank God.
It was only 2 million. No, I'm kidding.
the fact that Israel was created in the wake of the Second World War, and the Jewish people finally had a state that was their own, the one and only Jewish state. We thought it could happen again, right? Like, at least in this systematic way, because to your point, you have the Rwandan genocide, which is a good example. It was people killing each other with like swords,
Machetes.
right? That was the Rwandan genocide.
Yeah, that's the difference between a third world genocide and a first world genocide.
Yep. Fuck. That's a fucking terrible thing to think. Just that Israel could do this now. Right? Like that's the terrible irony of this whole story, which is that this was done to them. And now they are beginning, right?
Now they're doing
I
this.
think there is still time. I think there's still time because, you know, for one thing, I actually don't know what the population of Gaza is.
It was 2 million roughly when the war started.
Right. So if they killed everyone, it would be a third. They haven't gotten even close to that, although the official numbers are apparently not reliable, and that more people than we think
More than likely.
have died.
I think there's well over 100,000 people.
I think so too. Anyway, so there's still time to stop it, I think. We need a
absolutely.
far stronger intervention by Donald Trump, frankly. Like, I don't think he has this pressure, but he needs to intervene, right? He is the one who could do that. And frankly, why wouldn't he? Donald Trump may be many things. He does not like to see children die,
Who does?
right?
Benjamin Netanyahu? Yeah.
Sorry, fucker.
No, I agree with you. I was contemplating this, and I don't think I agree with it, but I was contemplating this the other day. I was contemplating the idea that the West, minus the United States, because they never do this, needs to declare war on Israel. Because when I grew up, I was taught...
Sorry, who?
The West, minus the United States, because they never would have to declare war on Israel. Yeah, Canada, Australia, Japan, whoever the fuck wants to join us. Because the United States isn't going to. Anyway, the reason that I was thinking that, not that I don't believe it, I was just playing with the idea, is because the way that we were taught World War II, mildly inaccurately, is that we had to stop what the Germans were doing, and so we fought to stop the Holocaust, which is not at all what it was about. It was it was about territory. Most people didn't know about what was going on in the war.
It was not a moral intervention.
No, exactly. It was all about territory, and but as a child, you are in a way taught that it was to stop the Holocaust, and you're taught never again. And here we are, where something very similar to this is happening again with someone who should be our ally, as in Israel, claims to be our ally. So I was toying with the idea that we should declare war against them to stop the genocide. But I came to the conclusion that that would be a worse idea.
And this is a good opportunity to pivot to Ukraine,
Good.
which is also incredibly important. And I think if Europe were to declare war on anyone, it would not be on Israel; it would be on Russia.
Yeah, I really hope that doesn't happen.
Russia openly wants to re-expand westward. That is its goal. The Europeans are looking at this going, they don't need to go far to break NATO.
Yeah, well, they're not going to cross the NATO borders. Russia is not that stupid. Vladimir Putin is not that stupid. He's not going to cross NATO borders. The whole point of going into the Ukraine was because they wanted to put the Ukraine in NATO, and he said, I'm not going to let that happen. I want a buffer zone between me and NATO, and so I'm going to take this country that I can easily say should be ours anyway because it historically was.
What if Russia is just fully backed by China?
It definitely could be. It's entirely possible because they're not a particularly sophisticated country, and
Russia is not. No.
No, they fight war very poorly. Weirdly enough, and
The fact that they couldn't, like, I'm sorry, fucking Russian pussies, like, you couldn't take Ukraine with the element of surprise.
all they do in war is they shovel people at you until they win. It's like a zombie horde. They just send drunk men until you have no more bullets, and then they just keep coming. That's how they win. I'm not even joking. Historically, this is what's going to happen to Ukraine, unfortunately. If Ukraine doesn't make some sort of deal, which likely will involve land concessions, Russia is just going to send people until there are no more people willing to pick up guns in Ukraine. And it's unfortunate that that's what's going to happen.
Do you think this ends, and I think it does, with the Donbass going to Russia?
Very likely. I think one of the things that will also
The
be...
Donbass, for those who don't know, is the part of Ukraine that Russia now occupies. It's the kind of southeastern portion of Ukraine, and I think represents about 20% of the territory.
It's a decent chunk. I believe it's just their bridge to get to Crimea, isn't it?
Sorry, what about Crimea?
I believe that's just like the one. It's en route to get to Crimea. That's one of the reasons that they took that territory. I believe that's the case. I could be wrong about that. Don't take my word for it. Anyway, yeah, I believe that's likely. I believe that it'll also come at the cost of Zelensky no longer being president. I believe that will also be something that will happen with the end of the war.
Okay, how does the war end?
Unfortunately, the way that I think it's going to end is one of two ways. As I said, the Russians are just going to just steamroll them with more and more men until they can't do anything. It's like that picture of the tiny little blonde girl and like a dozen huge dudes behind her. Or it's going to have to be some kind of deal that involves the United States, Ukraine, and Russia. That will involve them keeping parts of Russia keeping parts of Ukraine, almost certainly. At some point, people have to stop dying, and this is the best way to do it. It's land. You can move somewhere else. It might be sad that you have to give it up, but it's better than losing your life. It's better than losing your entire country.
Yeah, but they're not going to lose anything.
No, but Ukraine will. Ukraine can lose everything. What happens when you run out of men who are willing to pick up rifles? Russia's just going to walk in.
Russia has already, and obviously it wasn't as much of a war, although it was a war, when they annexed Crimea in 2014.
It was barely a war. They basically just walked in.
It was barely a war. That's it. They just kind of just took it. And nobody did anything.
No, because they're ethnically Russian people for the most part, and so they're just like, okay.
But it was occupied. Was it its own country?
No, it was part of Ukraine.
Part of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know why Putin would stop.
Why?
Like he runs out. It seems like he's good. Like,
well, he keep going.
It seems like he's selling Russian oil to all the everybody else, China, India.
You know what the stupid thing about that is you're not allowed to buy Russian oil, but India can buy Russian oil and do some work to it and then sell it back to you. So you could buy the downstream product of it. They can refine it.
Right.
Yep. So you're probably buying Russian oil, and maybe you're not, but people who are not buying Russian oil are buying Indian gas, which is Russian oil.
That's true. think vis-a-vis Ukraine, like they're not taking the territory back. That's for sure. But I think the big question is how does the Putin-Trump relationship emerge, right? Because they're meeting. Like, that's relevant, right? I don't think Trump met with him. Did he meet with him in his first term?
I think so. Maybe. No, I don't think they did, because all that Russian collusion stuff was going on, and they wanted to just keep distance from each other. And by Russian collusion stuff, I mean a giant lie made up by the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fuckers. So I don't know. I think Russia wants to continue expanding. It's not going to be a lot, but the war, I think, needs to end in just a, please stop doing this. Okay. Part of that territory goes to Russia. And that's kind of it.
So I really dislike the idea that the United States is throwing around of a security guarantee, because a security guarantee that's like Article 5 is essentially just having them in NATO, and that's the last thing that Russia wants. Russia doesn't want NATO on its border. It wants a buffer zone.
Hold on. You're cutting out, just FYI.
Oh, sorry. I hope the recording got most of that. Where was I?
Because you ain't going to hear it again, fuckers.
Russia wants a buffer zone. So what I think needs to happen is Russia is claiming that they want a guarantee that Ukraine will stay out of NATO, because they claim they want a buffer zone between NATO and them. And what I think needs to happen is not just a deal between the United States, Ukraine, and Russia, but between every country that is currently dealing, all the major countries that are currently dealing with Russia. Like India and China buying their oil, and they come in and have a guarantee that, look, we're going to give you what you want. Ukraine's not going to join NATO, but you're not going to touch them again, because if you do, China and India, we're not going to buy your oil anymore. And I think that would work a lot better, because Russia's part of the East, partly part of the West, but part of the East. They're allied with China, and I think that would be more likely to be successful.
Help the United States. China would never do anything to help the United States, right?
Unless it's also in their interest.
Oil,
unless it's also in their interest.
Buying Russian oil is something that they can just say, and it's true, benefits us, right? We need oil. We're buying it from Russia. That's it.
Look, I don't have all the details planned out, but I think that's the way that would be most successful. We can bring India in fairly easily, because India is one of our allies.
I think India is like a sketchy democracy.
They are 100%. They are, but they are technically our ally. They're technically our ally.
Yeah, on paper, they killed our guy a couple years ago.
The United States do that all the time to people. Look, people assassinate people all the time. It's not good that they did that. I'm not going to let that ruin international relations.
Kieran, how are we doing on time?
It is currently 9:26. I can go till 10. Or almost 10.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I would like to talk about a little is...
Ooh, I also had a good one.
Okay, you go first.
I'm actually really curious what yours is.
I was going to talk about South America, because there's always interesting.
I got nothing on that.
Oh.
I'm not able to talk about South America at all. You want to give a quick thing?
No, I just
Give us a quick thing. I literally can't say very little.
No, I was just interested in the dealings going on between the different countries and the United States with regards to taking their people back, with certain countries, how they're doing economically, like Argentina with their I guess he's not that new president anymore. That wild guy with the chainsaw. I don't know. I was wondering to see what you thought about any of it, but I guess we won't elaborate on that at all. What were you thinking about?
Okay.
You.
You're gonna like it.
Okay.
You're gonna like it. Canada's rule.
We don't have one.
Got it. We got it. Fuck.
I'm kidding. Joking.
Okay, I'll go. Canada's had a moment with the whole Trump 51st state thing. That was wild. I think it changed the way that we think about our economy. Moving forward, I think that the Canadian philosophy of depending on the United States was somewhat shattered.
Which I think is a good thing.
The tariffs and the threats, one real, one less real, but the threats actually still extracted. Actually, no, the threats didn't do anything. The tariff negotiations extracted stuff from us. But I think Mark Carney is generally doing a good job. I think Mark Carney has, for one, managed the tariff situation pretty much as well as you could hope. Tariffs were low on us. What? Do we even have tariffs on us right now?
Yeah, we definitely do.
Specifically targeted at Canada?
I believe so.
Just some of the more global stuff, like aluminum and steel. Excuse me.
I know those are hitting us. I know those are hitting us because it's hurting me.
Yeah.
Well, Canada's role. Okay, finish your.
Sorry. But I think, yeah. So we have this kind of work that he's doing domestically to lower trade barriers and improve projects of national importance. That was Bill C-5. Everyone agrees with Part 1. People disagree with Part 2 because the government can basically unilaterally say that project is good and then tear down all of the regulations so that project can move forward. There's all kinds of environmental consequences and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
That could happen because of that. So it is centralizing power in a way.
So I think sometimes you have to do that, though. I think sometimes you have to say, fuck this certain spot of the environment. We need this.
Buddy, this is part of the theme of the whole conversation, right? Is leaders taking more and more power. And Trump, right, using Supreme Court, Trump has more power than Joe Biden did, right? Straight up. He is wielding his power in a way Joe Biden didn't do shit, right?
It's because he was a corpse.
The fact that guy thought he could run twice is fucking crazy. Buddy, you're done.
He should have run. Listen, he would have won against Donald Trump had he ran in 2016. In 2016.
No, I disagree.
We'll have to talk about that.
That's
You're just disagreeing with me because you like to disagree with me.
Partially. Now, I just want to go to Canada's kind of more international lens, which is that we have been strengthening our relationship with Europe to the point that we're basically Europe, right?
I always have kind of
an
been.
ocean between us, but I would argue that we are actually more. That's not true. We are still incredibly tied to the United States.
Yeah, we're very American.
But the way that we are positioning ourselves on issues is perfectly aligned with Europe. Maybe that's a better way to say it, right? Is that we're coming out strong for Ukraine, right? There's none of this talk like Trump, right? Don't know what the fuck he's going to do. Unequivocally, we support Ukraine. Ukraine has the right to defend itself, right? The possibility of recognizing a Palestinian state, right? That's kind of been an idea that has.
That's one of my favorite things that Carney's done.
I agree. You got to fucking call it like it is, and frankly, give the guy credit, right?
Frankly, declare war.
That's hard to do. We should do more. Not to go back to the whole Israel thing, but we can't be funding these guys right now, right? I don't think just quick thing. If we were to stop funding them, and there were other countries that stopped funding them, the United States would never stop funding them.
No.
They might lower.
No, I don't
Lower
even think they'd lower the funding. I think they would raise it to compensate.
The United States, Trump, like, I don't know how this guy is getting away with it. Maybe there are just not enough people who agree, but I think this is becoming more and more true, that more and more Americans are seeing what's happening in Gaza and going, this is unacceptable.
Absolutely. The only people who are in favor of, who are pro-Israel in the United States right now are old Republicans. Even young Republicans see what's going on. They're like, well, Hamas is really bad, which they are, but...
Yeah, well, the hostages in tunnels, there are still 20 of them, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know, I guess Hamas still controls the tunnels. I'm surprised, like, why can't we get in there?
No, but here's the thing, and you brought up Sudan earlier. I forgot to tell you what was going on. So yes, there's been systematic violence since February. It's interesting the things that we in the West talk about, because this is something that's going on in another country that is having similar kind of violence to what's going on in other places, and yet we don't talk about it. Yeah. It's weird the things that we prioritize.
Well, North Korea, right?
Yeah.
North Korea is, I don't know if I'd call them genocidal, but their people all just like die constantly.
They're totalitarian, and yeah, they definitely crush their people, undoubtedly. And we let it happen because starting a nuclear war over it is not worth it. I think there's only like 2 million people left when they had a roughly equivalent population as South Korea did when the two countries split. That's a great example of communism versus capitalism right there. You took one country, cut them in half, and one of them is a beautiful, beautiful Western nation, and the other one... Ugh.
We can't touch North Korea, right? Like, they have a nuke. You can't touch them anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why Iran can't have a bomb. We didn't even talk about Iran, which is kind of crazy, because they were, up until recently, like a big player, and then Israel just showed like they were toothless, right? Israel is the dominant power in the Middle East, right? Like...
Yeah, but that's only because they have the United States in their back pocket. Like, if that went away, they wouldn't be.
The point is that originally the Israelis were the kind of scrappy underdog who were able to defend themselves after numerous incursions and defended their borders, right? That is the history. That is the original history since it was recognized by the UN in 1948. But it has grown more and more powerful, right, with more U.S. funding that comes in every year, and they've built up their
international support
to the point where they can easily control the Palestinian population that has, some pretty good reasons to dislike the Israelis. We got into it again.
So if you want to talk about Iran, I think Iran, as much as I think one of the number one greatest threats to the world is theocratic totalitarianism, the way that there is in Iran. I don't think that they're one of the major dangers internationally across the world. I think if you really look into it, a lot of the people don't like their own government, and so they're really not that enthralled about having them around. And I think their government, I believe their army is likely less powerful than they make themselves out to be. That's why one of the reasons they would like to have a nuclear bomb. I don't think they're a real threat. I think that especially with what Israel showed they're able to do to them, I don't think they're a meaningful player in any capacity except in the Middle East. I wouldn't even bother talking about them if they hadn't recently been involved.
You're cutting out again.
I said I wouldn't even consider talking about them if they hadn't recently been involved in Israel. Like, they're nobody in international players, as is Canada, in my opinion. So no shade on Iran, but then I don't think they're a villain that we need to be worried about. Even though I think Islamic terror, even though I think Islam is.
Is there a way you can reset your mic, because it's cutting out a lot? I'm not sure if it's just me. Maybe the listeners can hear, but I can't.
You can't hear me. Let me see.
Hear a lot of what you're saying. crazy what you got me with.
It's not as nice as you think it is. Okay.
Idly to the leaves of glory and fall.
How am I now? Can you hear me?
So far, so good. Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep talking. Yeah, I think Iran's a nobody internationally. Just they're relevant in the Middle East, but and maybe a certain amount on the Pacific coast, but and the Indian Ocean. But other than that, I don't think they're a big deal. I'm much more worried about China.
Yeah.
Much more worried about China. China's the real threat that we need to worry about because they have one of the largest populations and. They pay their people nothing, and yet it seems to work. So they have a wicked army with great technology, mostly because they steal a lot of it.
Well, you know, China has a lot of people who work terrible jobs, right?
Absolutely.
Who really work in the worst conditions, making all of the shit, right? That makes China such an exporting power.
Mm-hmm.
They just make everything.
And they get paid $1.79.
That's it. But China also has a pretty thriving middle class, which is wild for a country with that many people, right? Like they have 4 times what the U.S. has, because they're 1.4 billion, and they have hundreds of millions of people living in the middle class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a pretty incredible accomplishment. And say what you will about China, and you know there are persecutions of groups like the Uyghurs,
Absolutely.
North, the Muslims, I think.
Yeah, they are.
But you know, to be able to say that you lifted a lot of your people out of poverty is a pretty good thing. Right?
Yeah.
And we can't say bad China, like no, good job China.
Absolutely.
You did that.
It was done. It was done off the backs of Western nations spending money on terrible crap, though. But good for them anyway.
True. And that's whose fucking fault is that?
It's us. Oh, trust me, I have plenty to criticize the West about. I think the West is in. I think the West is in danger.
That's what I'm saying the whole time. You seem to be just totally cool. Okay, this is a good way to kind of close out the episode.
Sure. Yeah.
Give it to me. Big picture. The West is in danger.
Oh yeah, I think the West is absolutely in danger for governments imposing regulations. Like if you look at what's going on in the UK, where there are rape gangs going on and they're not arresting anybody about it, and then people will complain on the internet and then they get arrested, and there's thousands of people who are being arrested in the UK for complaining about legitimate issues. And there are similar speech laws that have been implemented in Canada. The West,
free speech.
Yes, absolutely. The West is turning.
Free speech is the thing.
It is one of the most important things. There's a reason that the United States has as their First Amendment, and that's not the only thing. It's just a sign of what's to come. It's the controlling. We're going to take your rights away in tiny ways until we have all the control. You see it playing out in a different way, but it has the same end result with authoritarian control. It's just instead of one major failure, it's the same institution that's just taking more and more until it controls everything. And you see it all across the West. The United States is doing it. You look at the way that Trump has taken over all of Washington, D.C., the way that they have militarized groups like ICE. You should have to present some form of identification when you are arresting anybody, because otherwise you could have just witnessed a kidnapping. And shouldn't you have shot that person?
You didn't even mention the craziest one. The Texas redrawing.
That's not as big of a deal as I care. It's wrong. Look, it's wrong, but I don't think that's as big of a problem as yeah. And
No. That's huge, dude.
Yeah, it's not a good thing, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as the violation of the rights that is going on across the West. And like I was saying earlier, they are also not following through with the promises that they made while they were campaigning. As I said, the UK has been trying to reduce its population since Brexit by, well, not reduce its population, but reduce the number of immigrants that it's bringing in. And every time that's the government they elect says, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And then they bring more and more and more and increasing numbers. It's happening all across where people aren't getting their way. The reason you're saying, do you think democracy is failing, is because, yeah, in many ways it is failing. Not democracy as a concept, but democracy as it's being currently implemented across the West. I do agree with you in that way.
Interesting. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about free speech.
I think it's one of the most vital things. The fact that there are people being locked up in the United Kingdom for complaining about the fact that there are immigrants who are doing horrendous things inside of the country is just sickens me. That government should be overthrown instantly. That kind of thing cannot be tolerated.
Yeah, I agree. That's bad. Shouldn't do that.
You should be, look, there's certain things you can say that are beyond the pale, that are horrendous, that should have certain kinds of consequences. And depending on the kind of thing you say, incitement of violence, there can be legal consequences. There can also be cultural consequences. If people hear you say all sorts of horrible things, like slurs, whatnot, they could not be your friends. But you can't be taking people away in handcuffs for opinions, man. And it's happening all across the West. It's sad. It's happening. You see what's going on in the United States, where they're just black bagging people who write op-eds that are against Israel. And the worst part, it's not even against the United States. They're doing it for people who write shit against Israel.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I don't think states should regulate speech beyond. I blame universities. Well, I don't really know how to talk about this topic, to be honest.
I'm rather passionate about it.
I hear you. I guess not the most joyous episode.
Yeah, it's unfortunately dark.
At the same time, if I may close on this.
Please do.
I don't even know what I'm going to say, but I'm just gonna wing it.
That's what we do here. I don't have a script I'm reading from.
That's what we do. I think that in spite of all the terrible things that we are seeing in the world, I think that there is still a majority of people who value dignity and goodwill towards one's neighbor. I think that if that is a measure that we took to measure the world, I think it would be higher than we realized. And I read this book in 2019. This is pre-COVID, so I kind of thought about it differently after COVID. We didn't even talk about it. It's crazy. It's called Factfulness. And the book basically talks about how the news, just information, is so terrible based on what we are seeing globally, right, in geopolitics, and in the horrendous acts being committed in, for example, Israel. What we do not see is malaria going down, right, or disease, or child mortality, or a growing middle class, right? These are not stories that we are told because A, journalists lack resources to tell them, and B, it doesn't capture us.
They're not flashy.
War. It's not flashy. And that's what media has become, which is, hey, pay attention to me. But there is, I think, a negativity bias that we all carry, and that being able to see the world as opposed to just the place around you, which has been most of human history, right? Like, this is the new thing that we know what's going on, like elsewhere. And so as a result, we pay attention to the wars and the conflicts and the persecutions, and we don't pay attention to the kind of just everyday lives of people who are hopefully living a little better every generation. The end.
It's very nice. Yeah, I think we need to have hope for the future, for our children.
We didn't even talk about climate change.
Well, we can do a whole episode on that because I think that requires at least for you an hour and a half. So we'll see what's going on in the next coming months.
Yeah. Kieran, I would like to finish for real by thanking you once again for these two incredible gifts.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the many years of a
Lorien.
beautiful friendship. Seething hatred and burning love.
I feel like I'm just gonna stare at it all night.
Yeah,
Listen to it.
you'll see that. I believe it glows in the dark. I believe the text glows in the dark.
Oh, that's so sick.
I could be wrong about that though.
I try right now. No, it won't look good on this.
Well,
All right,
anyway,
buddy.
till next time. Thanks for stopping by.